They are A-list stars shining brightly on screen, always appearing perfect and captivating to the public. However, behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood lie little-known behind-the-scenes stories where the daily habits, work methods, and personal care routines of these stars sometimes surprise their co-stars and crew. In today's video, we'll explore 21 famous stars and their fascinating behind-the-scenes secrets that are rarely revealed. Some things might surprise you, even be unbelievable, but they are all hidden aspects rarely seen on camera. If you enjoy these unique behind-the-scenes stories, don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more exciting content. Cameron Diaz once attracted attention when she shared that she hadn't used deodorant for years, arguing that antiperspirant products can disrupt the body's natural mechanisms. The star of Charlie's Angels believes that sweating is a necessary physiological process for the body to regulate itself, and that excessive intervention with chemical products isn't necessary. Therefore, she chooses a simpler lifestyle, accepting her natural state instead of trying to control it completely with cosmetics. In some lifestyle discussions, Diaz has also mentioned that she doesn't place too much importance on constantly changing clothes unless absolutely necessary, prioritizing comfort and a natural feel over outward appearance. This perspective is sometimes distinctly different from the polished standards often seen in Hollywood, where appearance is always considered crucial to public image. During the filming of Charlie's Angels, some of her co-stars, such as Drew Barrymore and Lucy Liu, joked about her habit, even suggesting she try some more natural alternatives. However, Cameron Diaz maintained her personal stance, believing that each body has its own balance and that excessive intervention is unnecessary. The costume team for some action scenes sometimes had to adjust schedules and prepare appropriate costumes to ensure visual continuity on screen. Despite this, Diaz maintained her consistent lifestyle, viewing it as part of a philosophy of living naturally, comfortably, and without being bound by overly strict standards. Russell Crowe's Oscar statuette may be proudly displayed in his home, but his personal and work habits surprise many. The star of Gladiator is renowned for his ability to immerse himself deeply in his roles, often adjusting his daily routines to suit his characters. For roles such as Roman warriors, gladiators during the Great Depression, or historical figures, this sometimes resulted in his dusty appearance lasting throughout the filming process. During the filming of Gladiator, some crew members shared that whenever he moved quickly, dust from his costume and makeup was almost visible in the air. Extras were also given extra support to adapt to the unique working conditions, while Joaquin Phoenix reportedly chose to travel in his own vehicle to maintain comfort and focus. Director Ridley Scott offered some subtle suggestions, but Russell Crowe responded with a perspective on the authenticity of an ancient warrior. For Cinderella Man, Renee Zellweger reportedly minimized close-up shots to maintain the character's naturalness. Several stunt doubles also stated they needed time to adapt to this particular working style. When working on Noah, Crowe continued this approach, arguing that the character's setting was incompatible with modern amenities. Jennifer Connelly maintained focus during the scenes, while Emma Watson only participated in truly necessary segments. This story later became a humorous topic on talk shows, with Joan Rivers turning it into witty commentary. Crowe himself seemed quite surprised by the attention, but many in the industry have noted that his post-project parties have become increasingly streamlined over time. Clark Gable is considered one of the greatest icons of Hollywood's golden age. His smile, once considered a trademark that attracted audiences as powerfully as any advertising campaign. However, behind that elegant image lay a long-standing dental health problem, which sometimes made working with him uncomfortable for some of his co-stars. By the time he took on the role of Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind, his dental condition had become serious after years of smoking, an unhealthy lifestyle, and almost complete neglect of dental care. This forced him to use dentures for much of the film's later stages. According to some on set, these dentures sometimes didn't feel completely stable during filming, especially on long scenes. Vivien Leigh, his co-star in the film, shared in personal stories that some of the intimate scenes were quite challenging, both physically and mentally, even though she always maintained a professional attitude in front of the camera. During production, the crew also had to rearrange the filming schedule, choosing more suitable times for kissing scenes to ensure the progress and smooth operation for the entire film crew. The makeup and crew sometimes had to use additional small support measures, such as adjusting the workspace or creating a light scent in the filming room to help the actors feel more comfortable during long scenes. Despite this, Gone with the Wind was completed with excellent quality, and these behind-the-scenes details have gradually become less talked about stories in the history of classic cinema. Britney Spears was once an icon of the big stages worldwide, but behind the scenes, many stories have surprised the public. Former bodyguard Fernando Flores filed a lawsuit in 2011, alleging her rather casual personal habits, including irregular hygiene and infrequent use of basic personal care products. He also claimed that in some everyday situations, her appearance was sometimes unkempt, despite the use of perfume and other odor-masking measures. Britney Spears' representatives later denied all of these allegations. Another incident that attracted much attention was the image of her being caught barefoot in a restroom at a Los Angeles gas station in 2004, then emerging without seeming concerned about the reactions around her. These images quickly spread widely and gradually became a frequently cited detail in the media and popular culture. During the Las Vegas tour, some who worked with the team said they had to constantly adapt to changes that arose during the performance. Support dancers adjusted formations flexibly on stage, while the backstage crew focused on optimizing the costume change process and using quick solutions like dry shampoo to ensure everything was ready for each consecutive appearance. Joan Fontaine's dressing room at RKO Studios was once described as a space with a persistent, unpleasant odor, linked to accounts of the rather unusual habits of the Oscar-winning actress from Suspicion. Fontaine reportedly had quite a unique perspective on body care, viewing bathing as a personal, rebellious choice against the strict Hollywood standards of the time. She believed that soaps and scented products could affect the skin's natural oils, and therefore gradually limited their use in daily life. According to some assistants, she once said that going without water for several days was perfectly normal and even considered it a personal habit. This viewpoint sometimes created awkwardness in the work environment, especially during long, intense filming sessions. During her collaboration with Alfred Hitchcock on Rebecca, issues surrounding her personal habits became increasingly apparent. Some crew members had to adjust their working positions or maintain distance in certain situations on set. Despite attempts to change schedules, improve ventilation, and expand workspaces, the situation didn't improve significantly, forcing them to constantly adapt to ensure production progress. Some colleagues, including Laurence Olivier, chose to remain professional, refraining from discussing the issue and focusing entirely on their acting. Meanwhile, the costume team and production assistants had to constantly adjust costumes and workspace arrangements to ensure smooth filming, even under less than ideal conditions. Matthew McConaughey once made headlines when he shared that he hadn't used deodorant in over 2 decades, viewing it as a purely personal choice that perfectly suited his lifestyle. The Texas-born actor believes that the natural state of his body possesses a unique appeal, like an irreplaceable personal signature. According to him, even negative opinions from the outside aren't enough to change his mind. Several female co-stars have shared that working with him, especially on outdoor scenes or in hot weather, required them to adapt to ensure comfort during filming. This sometimes becomes a memorable behind-the-scenes detail recalled as a special experience on set. Kate Hudson, McConaughey's co-star in Fool's Gold, had some memorable experiences filming in the hot, tropical climate. After some intimate scenes, she reportedly tried various natural deodorants, hoping to find a more suitable solution for working together. However, McConaughey carefully considered these options and ultimately maintained his preference for natural products, arguing that masking body odor also somewhat diminishes human authenticity. Kate Hudson later humorously shared that during filming, she used peppermint more often, not necessarily for health reasons, but as a way to maintain comfort while acting in long scenes. Nevertheless, the whole experience was seen as an interesting part of the filmmaking process, reflecting the differences in personal habits among Hollywood actors. Megan Fox is one of the Hollywood stars who frequently becomes the focus of media attention, not only because of her roles, but also because of controversial behind-the-scenes stories surrounding her personal life. The star of Transformers once frankly shared that she isn't too strict about some of her daily habits. And this statement was quickly exploited by the media, blown up into various rumors. The information that spread subsequently led the public to imagine her as someone with a rather free lifestyle, different from the polished image often seen in Hollywood stars. Her ex-husband, Brian Austin Green, has also been mentioned in some stories related to his attempts to adjust and balance their family life. Although things didn't always achieve lasting harmony on set, some unofficial sources suggest that the production team sometimes had to flexibly adjust the filming schedule and workflow to suit her personal habits. From makeup to costume changes between scenes, some behind-the-scenes support staff shared that this created a certain amount of pressure. But it's not uncommon in a professional filmmaking environment. As for Brian Austin Green, at one point, he was said to have tried many ways to improve their shared routine, from direct communication to rearranging their living space for greater convenience. However, Megan Fox maintained her own views and was little swayed by external influences. Over time, stories surrounding her gradually became part of a controversial yet attention-grabbing public image. Jennifer Aniston is said to have a habit of drinking quite a lot of coffee every day, and the real impact of this habit isn't the cost, but the energy she brings to the work environment. Some co-stars have jokingly commented that her caffeine-fueled energy seems to spread throughout the set, sometimes requiring the filming pace to be adjusted to her break schedule. In some intimate scenes, Jason Bateman shared that he gradually learned to prepare beforehand, realizing that the scenes filmed after Aniston's coffee break often led to unpredictable situations. On one occasion, the atmosphere on set even had to pause for a break, creating a moment of laughter that made everyone laugh. To adapt to this, Bateman prepared small items like mints to use between scenes as a simple way to stay comfortable. Meanwhile, Jennifer Aniston views her coffee habit as a natural part of her daily routine, even jokingly saying that morning shoots should be sponsored by coffee to boost morale. Despite the humorous behind-the-scenes anecdotes, the atmosphere on set remains professional and relaxed. Crew members gradually become accustomed to her distinctive energy, seeing it as a unique personality rather than a disruptive element. And the work process continues smoothly in a spirit of cooperation and humor. Brad Pitt, a man repeatedly named one of the world's most attractive men, is said to have quite different personal care habits compared to his glamorous on-screen image. Instead of using conventional deodorants, he's been noted for preferring homemade mixtures like apple cider vinegar and lemon juice, stemming from his belief in limiting harsh chemicals and protecting his skin from natural aging. Furthermore, his body care routine is quite minimalist, sometimes using only wet wipes and quick methods instead of complicated bathing procedures. Not only that, Brad Pitt is also said to employ some rather unique hair care methods, using familiar, everyday ingredients like beer or clay to help cleanse his scalp. These choices are believed to stem from his concern for the environment and his desire to limit exposure to industrial ingredients in personal care products. Angelina Jolie has been mentioned in several behind-the-scenes stories for her patience with the distinctive scents of these natural mixtures, especially during pregnancy when her sensitivity to smells became more pronounced. Their children have also had very natural and humorous reactions to this habit, sometimes even teasing with little experiments with soaps and perfumes in the family. However, Brad Pitt seems to maintain his own approach, even adding baking soda to his list of personal care ingredients, creating an increasingly unique routine in his kitchen. Sandra Bullock's makeup bag often contains a rather unexpected item, a small tube of cream placed alongside her high-end skincare products, and she reportedly prioritizes using it first. The Oscar-winning actress is said to have learned this trick during the filming of Miss Congeniality, when a makeup artist noticed slight puffiness around her eyes in the morning and gave her a product that Bullock initially mistook for a high-end eye cream. She later realized it was actually a medical product designed for a completely different purpose, much to her surprise and amusement at the amusing misunderstanding. However, thanks to its ability to soothe and temporarily reduce swelling, the product had a similar effect to many expensive eye creams, making the skin around her eyes look fresher. Since then, Bullock has considered it a little trick in her personal makeup routine. This habit of using an unconventional product once caused her team a rather rushed situation before the 2010 Oscars, when an assistant accidentally forgot to bring the familiar item. The support team had to quickly find and buy it from various locations in a short time to prepare for the schedule. After that incident, makeup artists often discreetly label their products to avoid confusion or misunderstanding. For her part, Sandra Bullock sees it all as a fun memory in her career, even jokingly saying that sometimes her radiant look comes from simple secrets that not everyone thinks of. During the filming of Fury, not only were the tank battle scenes intense, but the behind-the-scenes atmosphere was also described by many as truly battlefield-like. Shia LaBeouf shared that he deliberately maintained a very minimalist lifestyle, including limiting showering for a certain period, in order to portray a World War II soldier as authentically as possible, even in everyday details. Initially, Brad Pitt, Jon Bernthal, and Michael Pena respected his preparation, but as filming extended into the cramped space of the tank for many hours each day, the working conditions became increasingly challenging for the entire crew. The tension during filming therefore increased, forcing the film crew to find ways to adjust to ensure the schedule and minimum comfort for the actors. According to some behind-the-scenes accounts, the crew sometimes prepared personal hygiene items hoping to improve the working environment. However, LaBeouf viewed these as diminishing the authenticity he was pursuing. He continued to maintain a rigorous approach throughout filming, believing that the most realistic experience would make the characters' emotions more convincing on screen. Previously, in other projects, his work ethic had also sparked debate as he maintained the character's psychological state even outside of filming hours. For the Elastic Heart video, the high intensity of the dance sequences forced his co-stars to quickly adapt to the pressure of continuous rehearsals and filming. But production was still completed as planned. Such stories make Shia LaBeouf one of the most controversial names in Hollywood, where the line between artistic dedication and extreme levels of immersion in a role is always a subject of public debate. Robert Pattinson's portrayal of Edward Cullen in Twilight led him to choose a rather unique approach to the character's appearance, focusing on building the image of a creature bearing the marks of time rather than a modern man. His iconic messy hair wasn't entirely the result of professional styling products, but largely developed naturally during filming, when grooming was kept to a minimum. According to some behind-the-scenes accounts, Edward Cullen's cold and detached demeanor was sometimes reinforced by keeping the same costume throughout extended scenes, maintaining the feeling that the character was almost detached from everyday life. The costume team, therefore, had to prepare multiple identical versions to ensure replacements were available when needed. Avoiding disruptions to production, his co-star, Kristen Stewart, once said that the entire crew gradually got used to this rather unique acting style, even though it sometimes created inconvenient situations during filming, even in scenes requiring a lot of movement or emotion. Pattinson maintained his character's state consistently to ensure consistency, instead of switching flexibly between segments, as is typically done. The makeup team often had to start work earlier to adjust his appearance before the cameras started rolling, ensuring the image was appropriate for each specific scene. While this sometimes added pressure to the production process, this approach helped shape the distinctive style of the entire Twilight series. Years later, Robert Pattinson looked back on this period with humor, admitting that some of his habits were somewhat extreme, but also considering it an important and memorable experience in his acting career. In a 2021 interview with Vanity Fair, Jake Gyllenhaal shared a controversial view on bathing habits, arguing that daily showering isn't always necessary and that the human body has the ability to naturally balance itself. This statement quickly garnered widespread attention due to its difference from the common lifestyle habits of many. The Nightcrawler actor approaches body care in a minimalist way, prioritizing basic habits like oral hygiene, maintaining overall health and a healthy lifestyle rather than relying too heavily on daily cleansing products. He believes that skin can adapt and adjust over time if not excessively exposed to chemical products. This viewpoint has led some of his co-stars in action and psychological projects to adjust to a somewhat different working style on set. During the film's promotion, Gyllenhaal was often described as a highly focused actor, sometimes maintaining the character's emotional state, even when not in front of the camera. Some behind-the-scenes stories suggest that the costume and makeup teams sometimes had to work continuously to ensure the character's image remained consistent during extended filming, especially for roles requiring high physical intensity and constant emotional shifts. Following the interview, his statements were widely discussed on social media and in entertainment media, reigniting debates surrounding the personal habits of celebrities. However, Jake Gyllenhaal maintained his stance and continued to uphold his own approach to health and acting, showing little change in response to external opinions. Kristen Stewart has always attracted attention for her natural personal style, especially in her approach to self-care. The Twilight actress doesn't overemphasize elaborate beauty routines, prioritizing comfort and authenticity over conforming to the glamorous standards often seen in Hollywood. She pursues a relaxed fashion and image style, sometimes repeating outfits or maintaining the same style for days in a row. For Kristen Stewart, this doesn't mean being sloppy, but rather expressing her individuality and reducing the pressure of always appearing perfect in the public eye. During film promotions, her support team often prepares convenient items like dry shampoo or wet wipes to accommodate her busy schedule. Although she doesn't always use all of them, this reflects the fast-paced and continuous nature of the entertainment industry, where everything must be optimized in a timely manner. Kristen once shared that maintaining an absolutely perfect image all the time is unrealistic, and she wanted to respond to that pressure by living true to herself. For her, authenticity is more valuable than meeting the image expectations that the entertainment industry often sets. Although this style sometimes generates mixed opinions, it has become a distinct personal hallmark of Kristen Stewart in Hollywood, where image is often very tightly controlled. She chooses to maintain her freedom in how she presents herself, rather than being bound by rigid standards of appearance. Bradley Cooper is known for taking his body care very seriously, with a daily routine built around maintaining his physical fitness. According to some behind-the-scenes accounts, he usually starts his mornings with a thorough body wash to feel alert, then incorporates high-intensity workouts to maintain his fitness, and ends the day with a shower before resting. From the outside, this gives the impression that he is very focused on personal hygiene and discipline. However, some behind-the-scenes sources suggest that he doesn't rely too heavily on conventional deodorants, but rather believes his body can regulate itself if not overly affected by the chemicals in cosmetics. This perspective sometimes creates subtle differences in how he works with his co-stars and crew. Jennifer Lawrence, who collaborated with him on Silver Linings Playbook, shared lighthearted anecdotes about the product testing scenarios on set, mostly in a humorous way to create a more relaxed atmosphere. During film promotional campaigns, Lady Gaga was also noted for her attention to her image in front of the camera, always adjusting her posture and angle to ensure the best visual effect. This sometimes made the photo shoot a harmonious coordination of lighting, camera angles, and individual movements. Despite numerous stories surrounding his personal habits, Bradley Cooper is still considered a professional actor, always highly focused and meticulously prepared for each role. Differences in lifestyles mainly reflect the diverse lifestyles of Hollywood stars, rather than creating real problems in the working process. Marilyn Monroe's beauty routine was associated with classic symbols like diamonds, red lipstick, and the Chanel No. 5 fragrance she often used before resting. However, she wasn't overly concerned with using deodorant, having expressed the view that products containing chemicals might not actually be beneficial to the body. Instead, she prioritized naturalness, even when appearing in her iconic white dresses. Besides her glamorous appearance, Marilyn also faced significant mental stress, including anxiety, insomnia, and the pressures of fame, which sometimes disrupted her self-care during stressful periods. Some close associates have noted times when she experienced prolonged fatigue and struggled to maintain stable routines, which also affected her work environment on set. During the filming of Some Like It Hot, co-star Tony Curtis shared some controversial experiences working with her, mainly concerning the difficulties in certain close-up shots. This led director Billy Wilder to adjust the filming schedule for close-up scenes to the morning, when people were in a better mood and working conditions were more favorable. The makeup and costume teams also implemented additional measures, such as increased ventilation and the use of subtle fragrances to create a more comfortable atmosphere during filming. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis once garnered attention for sharing their minimalist views on family bathing habits, particularly their approach to children's hygiene. The couple argued that the body doesn't necessarily need soap every day, and bathing should depend on activity levels and actual needs rather than a fixed schedule. These statements quickly became a topic of debate on social media, as they emphasized that bathing is only necessary when the body is genuinely dirty or clearly showing signs of it. This viewpoint generated much controversy, especially among parents, regarding the boundary between natural habits and modern hygiene standards. Ashton Kutcher also shared that he prioritizes a simple lifestyle in personal care, limiting reliance on chemical products and keeping daily routines as basic as possible. Mila Kunis shares a similar view, arguing that the body and environment are sometimes better able to balance themselves than excessive intervention. Their 2 children were raised in an environment where the parents tried not to impose too many rigid rules on daily life, instead focusing on flexibility and situational awareness. However, after the story was widely shared, many medical and pediatric experts also emphasized that children still need to maintain basic hygiene to ensure health and prevent risks. Despite the controversy, their approach reflects a more prevalent trend among celebrities, where many are moving towards a minimalist lifestyle and reducing reliance on traditional standards. Though this doesn't always receive public approval, in his private trailer, Tom Cruise is said to always keep a special skincare ingredient in a temperature-controlled refrigerator, and that's just the beginning of the story. The mission. Impossible Star has been interested in a Japanese-inspired skincare method that uses natural ingredients to help cleanse and improve skin texture. And he's reportedly quite serious about it, willing to pay a considerable amount for each treatment. Victoria Beckham's endorsement of this method is said to have further solidified his belief, to the point that he invested in a dedicated preservation system to maintain the quality of the ingredients between treatments. Some in the spa industry describe this experience as a particularly relaxing treatment, where clients maintain near-perfect stillness throughout the process, something not everyone can easily adapt to. This method is said to aid in cleansing and resurfacing the skin thanks to natural enzymes, although many experts argue that similar results can be achieved with more common skincare products. What makes the story noteworthy is that Tom Cruise, who is usually very private and controls his personal image, is willing to experiment with such unconventional treatments, whether this is his secret to a youthful appearance or simply a personal choice. His consistent performance on screen always leaves a strong impression. Julia Roberts has garnered attention for sharing rather unconventional views on lifestyle and personal care, prioritizing a simple lifestyle and limiting the use of excessive industrial cleaning products. In her view, the human body has the ability to naturally balance itself, so excessive intervention from chemical products isn't always necessary. The star of Pretty Woman pursues a lifestyle close to nature, sometimes maintaining only basic hygiene habits and using essential oils or naturally derived products as alternatives. For her, this is a way to help the body feel more naturally comfortable and reduce dependence on synthetic ingredients in daily life. Julia Roberts' signature hairstyle is also often mentioned as part of this style. She once shared that retaining the natural oils in her hair gives it a softer and more authentic feel, rather than focusing too much on constant cleansing or styling. This sometimes forces stylists working with her to adjust their approach to suit her very natural style. During the filming of Eat, Pray, Love, the film crew initially thought she was adopting a method of embodying the character's minimalist and contemplative spirit. However, they later realized this was actually Julia Roberts' familiar lifestyle, not only on set, but also in her daily life. This style reflects a trend among some Hollywood stars who choose simplicity and naturalness in their self-care, rather than pursuing elaborate standards of appearance, while sometimes causing differing opinions. It also contributes to Julia Roberts' unique and easily recognizable image in the public eye. From the very beginning of his involvement in the Pirates of the Caribbean series, Johnny Depp chose to immerse himself deeply in his role, believing that a true pirate wouldn't be overly concerned with modern hygiene standards. Therefore, he maintained his character's style not only on screen but throughout the filming process. During many extended periods, his hair was rarely meticulously groomed, oral hygiene wasn't a priority, and his costumes largely retained their rugged appearance from the early days of production. Orlando Bloom, who frequently had direct confrontations with Depp, reportedly had to rely on an assistant to provide cologne for use during breaks between scenes. The costume team gradually adapted to this situation, even considering it a contributing factor to the authenticity of Captain Jack Sparrow's image. However, maintaining this style for extended periods sometimes requires constant ventilation in the workspace, especially in the vehicle containing costumes and equipment to ensure the crew's comfort. Years later, while working together on the project The Tourist, Angelina Jolie reportedly subtly prepared mints and mouthwash to assist during filming, cleverly handing them to Johnny Depp during breaks between scenes. Although done discreetly and gently, these efforts did not seem to significantly alter his acting habits, which remained consistent with his natural and highly natural working style across all his roles. Thank you for taking the time to watch until the end of the video. If you found today's content interesting, Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos in the future. Your support is the motivation for me to continue bringing you more engaging and high-quality content. See you in the next videos.